Hello everyone and welcome to the 2016 Brent Hambrick Memorial Open presented by Discraft. I'm your host Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and we're here at this PDGA National Tour event, which is the final National Tour event of the season. We're over here on hole number 11. We're going to catch up with the back 2/3 of the course with a couple of our top cards. Ricky Wysocki's on the tee on hole number 11. Let's get right to the action. You're watching SmashBoxxTV. Ricky Wysocki has opened with a forehand roller here on hole number 11. And a more traditional route with a lefty backhand up the middle. Jared Roan with a righty forehand. And again, welcome everyone. We are here at the Brent Hambrick Memorial presented by Discraft. We have caught up with the card that started on hole number 2. And our leader of the card and sitting in a tie for second overall right now is Ricky Wysocki, who sits at 5 under par through his first 8 holes. Currently we have Lance Brown 6 under par through his first 10 holes. And joining Wysocki on this card are Stephen Hackathorn and Reed Frescura, along with Jared Roan. Solid forehand approach there by an outstretched Wysocki. Again, Wysocki with a forehand roller off the tee. It is going to be a very warm and muggy weekend out here in Columbus, Ohio. We're glad you guys could join in and watch the live action right here on SmashBoxxTV. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We have Jared Roan for his second shot here on hole number 11. After seeing the course for the first time yesterday, I've seen that these, roughly starting around hole 9 through the next 3 or 4 holes, are some of your most wooded holes. We'll be starting with those today as we catch up with Paul Macbeth on the card in just a few moments. And then once they move over to hole 14, after completion of 14, they move into 9 lettered holes, making this a full 27-hole course. There's 9 lettered holes, and then they wrap up on 15 through 18. So we'll be bringing you all of that action, approximately 18 holes out here today. And the group is just about to finish up here on hole number 11. We're going to be getting into position as this card moves over to hole 12. We're going to revert back to the tee of 11. And we'll be catching up with Paul Macbeth's card here in just a few moments. Paul Macbeth joined by Max Nichols, Chris Warfield, and Nate Perkins. So a few names that we've heard and seen throughout this year. Nate Perkins featured during the Rolling Ridge PDGA A tier that took place in Wisconsin a few months ago. Max Nichols hails from California. We haven't seen the lefty too much this year. Max, very dedicated and diligent player. Max is a player that will go out to a practice course and throw anywhere from 2 to 9 shots in order to practice a course or a round. And I see off in the distance our competitors are just cleaning off hole number 10, and in a few moments they're going to be joining us on hole number 11. We see a solid gallery of players and competitors along with spectators all moving here onto hole number 11's tee area. Again, the card will be here in a few moments. Now we're going to take a look at a whole preview of hole 11 before we catch up with our card. Paul Macbeth is elated to see us, and we'll be back in a few moments.
Here on hole 11, 355 feet, dead straight. I feel it's a little bit of a low ceiling, kind of just one tree you got to get past, but you got to keep your drive nice and low, straight, try to get a little bit of a skip, finish in the woods to get a putt. Here on hole 11, 355 feet, dead straight. I feel it's a little bit of a low ceiling, kind of just one tree you got to get past, but you got to keep your drive nice and low, straight, try to get a little bit of a skip, finish in the woods to get a putt.
Max Nichols on the tee, the lefty throwing down a roller that was carrying nicely, got hung up on the left side. Nate Perkins, third to tee. Chris Warfield hits the tree on the right center side. Checking with PDGAlive.com, we can take a look at our live leaderboard where we have currently Lance Brown still sitting at 6 under par. We have Ricky Wysocki at 5 down, Paul McBeth at 5 down, Nate Sexton at 3, and Reed Frescura sitting at 3. Now those are just a number of the competitors that have been entered into the live scoring. There is 60 open competitors out here. Looks as if we have scoring currently for about 16 to 20 of them. And Warfield with a forehand approach. And McBeth with a forehand that gets up and rolls a few extra feet from him. Max Nichols' roller has finished erect against this tree. And a huge putt here. Nate Perkins from way downtown gets the congrats from McBeth and Nichols. Perkins showing up for the cameras here today, folks. And Warfield has missed from inside 22 feet. Paul McBeth standing down just for a moment as there's a somewhat adjacent fairway on the other side of the wooded area. And as we move up the next fairway, I'll give you a little bit of an insight and story as to our arrival and what Paul McBeth was joking about as we were doing so. And the rest of the card is in. We're going to move over to the very challenging hole number 12. We've got a whole preview thanks to AJ Risley. We'll be back with you in a few moments.
We're on hole number 12, a dog leg to the right. The main issue is the low hanging branches in the middle of the fairway, and then you have the cliff to the right.
And Max Nichols is taking the scores here. Nate will have the tee after that long putt on hole 11. Solid forehand shot here by Macbeth. And Warfield finds the trees on the left side. Max Nichols will have a putt. Paul Macbeth right in position where he'd like to be. I'd like to bring you the most late-breaking news that I'm aware of at the moment, which is Paul Ulibarri is here on the bag for Paul Macbeth. So Paul Ulibarri not competing this weekend. Instead, he is here on the bag currently for Paul Macbeth. Was a little bit of a foreshadow earlier in the week on Tuesday night's SmashBoxxTV podcast. Paul Ulibarri did not pick himself in the top 4 for Uli's picks. He may have had some insider information as to the likelihood of him not competing this weekend, so didn't pick himself in the top 4, which is not like him. However, looks like his finger is still bothering him. We'll catch up with him a little later. Great forehand approach here by Perkins off on this right side before it takes a hilly slant, I guess is what I was trying to spit out. A hilly slant down to the right, so a competitor does not want to find himself down there. And it looks like we're going to wait for just a moment off in, or just behind the basket, we can see the second card, or the card that started on hole 2, including Ricky Wysocki and Jared Roan, who we had caught up with earlier and opened the show with. They are directly in line with our competitors for their putts here at this basket. So looks as if Max Nichols will stand down for a few moments while our competitors on the next tee throw their tee shots. And now's a good time to discuss when we walked up on Paul Macbeth during the first hole where you guys saw him. He said, "Oh, you're bringing the Iceman." And what Paul was referring to was the fact that with our multi-card coverage, we've been able to send out additional cameras to whoever seems to be shooting hot. And in a few of those instances, the person that was shooting hot turns out not to shoot as well as they were, and hence we've been somewhat dubbed the Iceman. Paul thought the Iceman was showing up when really it's just our entire crew. Nichols' attempt is off the top nubs. Warfield is in and saves the par. And Macbeth's stroke is looking good from inside 8 feet here today. Seems to have that one dialed in. Perkins is in. And there you have it. We're going to have a slight break on the next hole. We'll be back with you in a few moments after a word from our sponsors. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
For me, it's time with my friends.
For me, it's a walk in the park.
For me, it's my job. Go in. Oh.
For me, it's all about the exercise.
For me, it fits into my busy lifestyle.
For me, it's my passion.
For us, it doesn't cost much to play.
For me, it's fun.
And welcome back. We are here on hole number 13 watching Ricky Wysocki put down a forehand roller from the right side rough. And you can definitely tell that we're in Ohio. Obviously, Ricky is the world champion crowned just a few weeks ago in Emporia, Kansas, thanks to all of the crew, the Dynamic Disc crew, as well as the PDJ and everyone over in Emporia for an amazing Worlds experience. I know Ricky had a good time, but we are here in Ohio, and the gallery following Ricky Wysocki at the moment is at least double, if not triple, the gallery that we're finding on Paul McBeth's card. And that is not necessarily commonplace. It makes perfect sense, but that is slightly atypical. Could be a little bit of the world champ love, could also be a little bit of the hometown crowd, but Ricky Wysocki with a very solid gallery here on hole 13. And good to see Jared Roan. Last weekend he actually withdrew. I believe he had a issue with his elbow. I heard shoulder at one point. I've also heard elbow, and he actually withdrew from the Ledgestone Insurance Open. And he's back out here this week. We saw him practicing yesterday, so a little time off may have done just the right amount of healing for him. This is a very difficult par 4 with a initial gap that the players must find themselves at around the bend, and then they have a very challenging approach shot, which gives them a number of options, including going up a low lefty route, as we're seeing right now, or a righty hyzer up and around the trees. But either way, this is a position shot that needs to be executed well right off the tee. And as I sit in the middle of the fairway watching the action, as the second card there is just about putting out, we see our card with Paul McBeth. They are standing down. They're still on the tee. I think they're going to wait a few moments. They're clear to throw at the moment, but there's really no sense in rushing. After this, the competitors move to 14, and then we go to the lettered holes. There are 9 lettered holes, which feature a little bit more open area. There are 3 very tight and wooded holes, and then the 6 besides that are relatively open. So you're going to see a much different course than what you're seeing currently. And we are positioning ourselves right at the pinch point for when Paul McBeth and crew will be ready to go here on hole number 11. And heads and cameras will need to be on a swivel here as Paul is going to be attempting to get around the bend. Again, this is the position in which you need to get past to be able to attack the screen on your second shot. And to show my inexperience here, I had no idea that that would be a viable option. McBeth goes up and over with a forehand. Nate Perkins seems to be lining up a little bit more traditional up the middle shot here. And he's gone up and over as well. And although that hits a late tree, he finds himself in a great position here. Max Nichols looks to be lining up the same. He's going to go up and over. This tee shot favors the left-handed thrower. And Max is able to get a little bit more on it, having the lefty backhand power to him. And he lands no more than 15 feet right next to Nate Perkins. And Warfield goes with the forehand. However, he gets caught up. He lands near the center of the fairway, but it is going to be right center and not around the bend. We're going to backtrack to get behind his shot, but he's going to have a lot more difficulty here in this approach shot than what we find from the other 3 competitors. And Warfield echoes exactly what I was thinking. He walked by and said, "And now I've got nothing." Warfield's going to go with a backhand roller, and he may have less than nothing from that left-hand side now. McBeth discussing strategy here with Yuli as they're moving down 13. Unique instance to see Paul Ulibarri on the bag. How are we doing today, Paul?
We're doing good, man. Just smoothing through the round.
Just smoothing through. We'll catch up in a little bit after this shot here by Max Nichols. And Nichols attempting to go with a lefty turnover. Nate Perkins is asking why he doesn't throw a forehand there. And Macbeth clarified and said that if he throws a forehand, it's actually with his right hand.
Where's the next shot?
Paul Macbeth politely asking how my stitch removal went yesterday. Some of you may have seen that on Facebook. May or may not have been appropriate, but he's checking in with me, and I appreciate that. Macbeth with a prime spot right here for his approach. And it looks as if he's left that short. I'm not sure if he just misjudged that or possibly got caught up on that right side, but that was definitely a short throw here by Macbeth. This is Warfield's third shot, which catches edge and rolls down toward the ravine area that I mentioned on the previous hole. He's going to have a little bit of work to do from over there as well. That's assuming he did not roll too far down. That could cost him an extra 2 or 3 strokes if he were to find himself at the bottom of the ravine. And again, we've got Paul Ulibarri on the bag. Paul, I said you may have had some insider knowledge the other day when you didn't pick yourself in the top 4 of Yuli's picks on our SmashBoxxTV podcast. You knew you weren't playing that, didn't you?
You know, I had a feeling I was hoping that I would be able to suit up for today, but I thought it was a better career choice to skip this one.
Now, just before the World Championships, you were out balling, doing a little b-ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think the kids still call it that, and seems to have you jammed your finger, and ultimately you went to the doctor, and what'd you find out?
I actually fractured it. It's called a mullet fracture, and caught a good break. I didn't hurt any tendons or anything, so hopefully be back soon.
At the World Championships, you were telling us that you could only grip with a few of your fingers, and the most important finger that you like to use wasn't available. Here's Max Nichols for his 3. We'll catch up in a moment. And Nichols, who we haven't seen much of this year, I know he was recently engaged in the last few months, but Max hasn't been on tour as much as we were used to seeing him in the last few years, have we, Paul?
No, he's slowed down a little bit. Looks like he's doing some more mature things with his life and stuff, so congratulations to him.
And classic Macbeth, he had to move to the straddle putt there after a slightly, well, we'll say a less than ideal upshot there. And that one's going to haunt Perkins a little bit. I know he was expecting to make good from there. And Paul, of all the things you could have been doing today, including being on a boat, maybe out riding a motorcycle, or dozens of other things related to disc golf or otherwise, you opted to caddy for Paul Macbeth. How'd that decision come about?
Well, originally I was supposed to caddy for Sexton, but he double booked, and he had previously told somebody else that he was going to caddy, so I switched over to Paul. Paul kind of recruited me.
Wow, I guess if the four-time world champ calls, do you feel like obligated, so to speak?
I kind of go to where I'm most paid, so.
Makes perfect sense. We're going to be back with you guys in a few moments. We're going to move over to hole number 14. We'll have more with Paul and Paul Macbeth in just a few moments.
We're on hole 14, another 2-shot hole. You really want to throw your drive about right here, just a little over halfway down the fairway, and leave yourself with a 100-foot, 80-foot upshot. You got trouble on both sides, so just keep it, right down the middle, and an easy upshot to follow.
And again, welcome back. We are here on another very long and challenging hole. I believe this is the last one we're going to see in the heavily wooded area for at least for 2 or 3 holes. Then we have 3 relatively short wooded holes, and then things open up from there. We'd like to thank AJ Risley for helping us out this week, acquiring some hole previews. I think I could have done myself a little bit of a favor to see how AJ says he would attack any one of these given holes. I believe he had some additional help. So thank you to AJ and all of our pros for assisting in that manner. Paul Macbeth on the tee. This is in the B position at 500 feet. And Yuli, you being, of course, such a veteran of the game, talk a little bit about what this course, how it plays for you if you were out here competing, and what you're thinking when you move into the Brent Hambrick week.
Yeah, you know, I've had success here in previous years, and I've also missed cash here before, so that was part of my resume I gave to Paul. I said, you know, I know the best places to be on the course and the worst places, so I don't think anybody's more qualified to be on the bag. But you know, of course, I wish I was playing, and you know, it's definitely tough to get out here and watch, but making the best of it.
Well, and you're watching, you know, obviously one of the best players here in the world. Got a great card with 4 solid competitors as well as 4 sponsored players, so great to see. We'll talk about the groupings here after Max throws his second shot. And that hits just on the left side, short of the plateau area. And Yuli, some people may be asking, there's always a conversation as to how groups are selected. Sometimes there's what's called featured groups, sometimes there's champion cards. We talked about that at the World Championships. This week, I believe what they did is they ranked all the players from top to bottom and grabbed one player from those rankings and put each of them on a card. So Paul McBeth, top ranked player on 1, Ricky Wysocki on 2, so on and so forth all the way down. So what that's really done is it has spread out our competitors. What a shot by Nate Perkins as it bends with his right to left forehand. Beautiful shot there, turning over by Nate Perkins with his forehand. And Max Nichols with an obstructed backhand shot there. And a great approach shot here by Chris Warfield. I was at the players meeting last night. One of the new changes that we're going to see this year is that I believe 8 of the holes will be moved shorter for Sunday's play, this being one of them. I'm noticing a blue stake in which Paul McBeth is directly 30 feet left of. So if he were to throw that same shot on Sunday, he would find himself just 30 feet from the pin. But 8 holes will be moving shorter on Sunday's round. On Sunday, we'll be featuring approximately 18 holes in the morning, and then later in the afternoon, we'll bring back for a final 9, which consists of the 4 top men as well as the 3 top women in the tournament. I'm very excited to see that. And Perkins lets the potential birdie slip by.
I didn't get up and down, dude. I poured the hole.
And Macbeth knew right out of his hands that he did not give it enough. That seemed to be weak. Hits the front of the cage. He's also going to be walking away with a par 4 here. And Warfield is in, and I'm not exactly sure of the context, but there was some words exchanged between Warfield and Perkins. I know Perkins was frustrated that he didn't make good on the birdie. Not sure if Warfield had just maybe tried to give him some accolades, although Perkins was frustrated. We're through hole number 13 here. We'll be back, 14. We'll be back with you in a few moments for hole letter A.
Here we are on hole A. It's about 342 feet. It's pretty straight. You got the road on the left, which is OB and beyond, and then some thick woods on the right with a drop off. I'm gonna be throwing a T-bird left-handed. Most players will probably be throwing either a forehand on the left to get the skip on the road, or probably a straight mid-range.
And welcome back. We're going to be teeing here in just a few moments here on letter A. These are the additional 9 holes that you can find out here on the course. They have 1 through 18 and also A through I, J, K, whatever 9 letters are. I think H is 8. Carry the 1. Yeah, enough math on the air. And Warfield with a slight turnover that carries out over the road and then back inbounds. And Macbeth's going to need that to stable up. It seems to carry perfectly straight. And Perkins very aggressive here out over the road, gets a skip. And the gallery approves. And this hole sets up very well for the lefty Nichols as he goes out and over the road. and carries right back toward the pin. Max Nichols parked. We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and joining us here on what is a very bright and sunny and incredibly muggy Friday morning here in Columbus, Ohio. You're watching the 2016 Brent Hambrick Memorial Open. This is the 20th annual version of this event. I'd like to thank Paul J. and the rest of his staff for what looks to be a beautiful course out here. There's also additional holes located on the west side of the dam. That is where the Super Tour will be taking place for the amateurs. They'll be kicking off the action tomorrow. And Warfield with back-to-back birdies on 14 and A here. Solid putt with a slight downhill slope to it. And Perkins is in for the second birdie here. And Macbeth again would have liked to have that stable up slightly just to keep himself out of these trees on the right hand side. However, this looks relatively unobstructed. He's going to go to a knee here. He's got about 23 feet. And Macbeth with an overcompensation here from the one knee stance. And Macbeth will move to the bottom of the box, sometimes referred to as Bob, as we move over to the next hole. He'll tap in, letting that one get by. Stay tuned, you're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV. We'll be back with you in a few moments in a hole preview of hole number B.
Here we are on hole B. It's 385 feet. You've got a road that's out of bounds on the left side of the fairway, and the basket is all the way in the woods. Most players are going to either play a righty forehand shot to land in the open area, or a flex shot to try and penetrate and get up to the basket. But the basket's in the woods, so you're going to see a lot of threes, a few fours that get caught up in the trees, and maybe an occasional two.
And welcome back as we're waiting here on letter B. And I look off to our left on the other side of the road, which is one of the holes coming back. we see another group. We a moment ago saw Drew Gibson throw a forehand that was left and OB. We just saw Charlie Goodpasture with a forehand or with a backhand roller, which also found itself OB. And then the last competitor just now goes with a forehand, and he is in fact in bounds. And these competitors will move in the parallel fairway, and as soon as they're clear, we'll be live with our group here on letter B. Please go out and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as to our Facebook. Make sure you are up to date with all of our live streams that are taking place, as well as our Tuesday night podcast, which typically take place at 9 p.m. Central. We invite all of you to join us. Very good time, very relaxed, very informative, and also plenty of content. And Drew Gibson throwing his second shot, which will be with penalty, and that shot getting caught up as well.
Yeah, you went out up here somewhere. Is it up more? There, a little further, not much though.
You guys, want a roller?
Charlie Goodpasture getting a marking from the rest of his group as to where he was last inbounds. And now that they've moved out of the way, we'll be ready to go. Chris Warfield here on the tee, 256 foot, hole letter B. And getting caught up with some trees on this right side, and then just narrowly missing the light pole and the light itself. And a forehand here by Perkins. A couple of good skips there for Nichols. Beth looking for that to get left on him. As I mentioned, it is a sunny, gorgeous day here in Columbus, Ohio. However, the humidity is up. We've been treated to some very humid conditions over the last few weeks, including our visit to Minnesota as well as in Emporia. Competitors are dealing that using any type of hand drying devices. We've seen birdie bags, we've seen whale sacks, we've seen sport sacks, we've seen a number of different methods to combat the moisture in the air. We're glad you're here and tuned in watching live disc golf on SmashBoxxTV. We'd like to thank Discraft as the presenting sponsor of the event, as well as the Professional Disc Golf Association.
Similar. Yeah, they're really tight.
And Warfield with a long jump putt. Gets him around the guardian trees, protecting the basket. And Macbeth asking that for the drop. However, the 40 to 45 footer is good. He'll make up for the only par on the previous hole by taking the only birdie here. And as I had mentioned, we'll move into hole C, which is a very tight and narrow shot, as the next few holes are. And Warfield's in on B. We'll be back with you in a few moments. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
Here we are on hole C. It's a really short wooded hole, about 177 feet. Most players are going to be throwing a putter or a mid-range. I throw a mid-range, and you're not happy if you don't get this hole because it's kind of one of those must-get holes.
Hello, I'm Drew Gibson. We're here at the 2006
Macbeth with a standstill turnover here on hole C. And Warfield, being one of the only competitors to get caught up by an early tree, has an approach shot here. The rest of our card will be putting for birdie 2. Solid putt by Nate Perkins for 2. Warfield's got at least that same distance here for his 3. Easy cleanup. We see Paul Macbeth within 5 feet of the pin. Max Nichols is looking approximately 15 feet or less. And the gentle, smooth stroke of Max Nichols nets him a birdie here. Paul Macbeth finishing up a 12-inch sandwich here as he heading toward his tap-in. And that's a birdie. We're through hole C. We'll be back with you in a few moments as we move over to letter D.
Here we are on hole D, the second hole of the wooded section of the course. This hole is about 177 feet, as you can tell behind me. There's a lot of trees in the fairway. What you're gonna see out of most players is something that starts with hyzer, but then flips up to flat so it can ride straight down the fairway. Because the basket is in a little bit of a cove. So instead of going too far left and too far right, the second half of your shot, you want it to go dead straight.
And Paul Macbeth is going to wait for a few moments as the parallel fairway has some putting on the next hole. And a long putt from outside 45 feet, just rings chains and out. That is in fact Ricky Wysocki's card. Looks like Jared Rohn will be putting next off in a distance here. We'll see if we can get an angle on that. Rohn converts. Again, these next 2 holes are very wooded, tight fairways. Then we'll move out into the opening where we'll find some prairie grass as well as some OB rope. And even a mandatory in a few holes. The competitors then pick up on hole 15. They play 15, 16, 17, and 18, which will be their final 27 holes of this opening round. 27 holes today, 27 tomorrow, 27 on Sunday, and a final 9 in the afternoon. All right, we're going to get into position here with Macbeth on the tee. And a late tree by Macbeth. However, the gallery chuckles in appreciation as it was such a solid tee shot here. And Nichols making it through at least a dozen trees. It's a very late one at the end of the fairway. And Chris also navigates most of the fairway before hitting a very late tree. Nate Perkins was hung up the furthest back. He'll be first to throw. And if you are, in fact, having any challenges with the possible synchronization of audio and sound, we apologize. We'll see what we can do during a backup, see if there's any adjustments that can, in fact, be made. And after drilling another tree, Perkins very calmly picks up and moves on. Very great maintenance here of his emotions, as I know he's got to be frustrated with this very narrow fairway. And if you get off of this fairway, you can be punished the entire way down. And not many options here for Nichols. He has the lefty hyzer approach shot, but that's about it from there. And just a bit short for Warfield as he's dialed in these last few holes. And Paul Macbeth is on the right side after getting a late kick, carrying him to the right area. The bushes and trees on the right side of this fairway. He's going to have an obstructed putt. Looks like his stance is somewhat impeded as well. And like Warfield, Macbeth is just a few inches short on his birdie attempt. However, Perkins would have loved to look at birdie here as he came up far short. He taps in. He's going to walk away with a bogey 4. Warfield taps in, as will Macbeth and Nichols. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to stand down for just a few moments. AJ Risley and crew will give you a look at the next hole. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
This is hole E. It's about 160 feet, and it's the third and final hole of this little wooded trio here on the course. And rightfully so, it's also the toughest. The fairway also has a lot of trees, and it curves from left to right. You're gonna see players throw some high shots to get that arc on their disc to get into the basket. You definitely don't want to kick left because there's an OB road and you're in jail. Hopefully you can get a birdie.
And Macbeth with a high forehand here, trying to navigate through this very tight fairway. And setting up very well for the lefty. Max takes advantage. And with what looks to be a clean forehand shot here by Nate Perkins. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning in here today, checking out the live action of the 2016 Brent Hambrick Memorial Open presented by Discraft. I'd like you to go out and like and share. Please subscribe to our channels, both on YouTube as well as like our page on Facebook. That way you can always be in tune and alerted for all of our future broadcast events. I'd like to thank Johnny V, Justin Downry, and Joe Height, all on cameras here today. And giving it a solid run here is Warfield for his birdie attempt. And Macbeth very frustrated with his lack of angle here on this attempt. Just not a lot of options as we see row upon row of trees. In a few moments I'll be heading out to pdgalive.com, see if I can bring you all of the latest for the scores that are thus far reported. We see right now Ricky Wysocki currently at 8 under par through 18 holes this morning. Paul Macbeth at 7 under par through 18 holes. Lance Brown remains at 6 under through 17. And Nate Sexton is at 6 under through 18 holes. Great putt by Nichols. And Nate Perkins with a very quick release here. Warfield taps in for 3, and Macbeth will do the same. We're going to move into some open areas out here at the Brent Hambrick Memorial Course. We're glad you're tuned in and watching live disc golf on SmashBoxxTV. We'll be back with you in a few moments.
This is hole F. It's 470 feet. The hole kind of bends to the left. You got an OB rope on the right and also a OB road and beyond on the left. It's a pretty long hole, pretty tough birdie. You'll probably see a couple twos, definitely some fours and mostly threes. As a lefty, I'm going to be playing the shot up over the road and see if I can get up there for a big jump putt.
Hi, I'm Val Jenkins, and I hope you're sitting back and relaxing as you're watching SmashBoxxTV.
Down into the grass, right in the thick, please.
And welcome back to hole letter F, which is one of 3 or 4 that we'll find in a more open area for the next few holes. Max Nichols will be first to tee. He's asked for all the spectators on the left side of this fairway to take a few steps back as he's going to be going out and over the road. Of course, the road and beyond being out of bounds. There's also the flagged OB area on the right side. So, although seemingly open, there's definitely a fairway that has to be hit here. And a great shot by the lefty. This is, in fact, the final stop of the PDGA National Tour here for the 2016 season. Some very preliminary math tells me Ricky Wysocki would have to all but have his worst performance in years here in order for him to not claim the National Tour title, and Paul McBeth would have to do very well. However, Ricky Wysocki seems to be back on track. Last weekend, not the performance he was looking for. He said he mentally was not focused, coming, of course, off his World's victory the weekend before. And he is here and currently on PDGA Live with the best score overall. Chris Warfield has nearly aced the wrong hole. Part of our Defining the Game segment that you're going to see on Smashbox in the future. We'll be discussing terms and situations, and a black ace is commonly referred to if someone were to ace the hole other than the one intended. That would be referred to as a black ace, and Warfield's almost done just that. Gallery is moving from shaded area to shaded area out here, as I myself am, trying to maintain any coolness that we can. Also seems to be plenty of water stations, along with a number of tents that are put up through the course. Plenty of disc golf to be seen yet in this 2016 season. In a few weeks, we'll be seeing the U.S. Masters Championships taking place in Stockton, California. And a few weeks after that, we'll also be giving you the action from the U.S. Women's Championships. And that's just a few weeks prior to the United States Disc Golf Championships taking place in Rock Hill, South Carolina at Winthrop University. And Warfield with a solid approach shot out and around. He's come up just a bit short. He should be able to clean up from there. Also missing our on-air microphone buddies, Dynamite, Dana Vici. We hope you're doing well. Dynamite, we know you're in a little bit of state of exhaustion from last week's PDGA A-Tier taking place, the Ledgestone Insurance Open, which was a stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So Dynamite, we certainly miss you. Wish you were here with us here today, buddy. J. Ray, thank you so much for helping out last week here on Smashbox, especially at the last moment, as did our good friend Mike Fierke, DG Mike. So thank you to all of those guys for helping out. We'll see if we can catch up a little bit more with Paul Ulibarri. I know he's got some great insight. I also extended an offer to Paige Pierce this weekend to join me on the mic. However, Paige taking the weekend off and caddying instead for her good friend Madison Walker. Macbeth, the only competitor with a birdie opportunity remaining. He finds himself inside 25 feet. And with the scores that are currently reported on PDGA Live, that will put Paul Macbeth to 8 under par with the outright lead. Again, approximately 20 of the 60 competitors are currently listed on live scoring at the moment, but of all those competitors, Paul Macbeth is in the lead. I caught up with Ricky Wysocki yesterday telling me that he has the course record here at 16 under par on the 27-hole layout. And Perkins taps in. We have a brief trek backwards to the next hole. We'll be back with you in a few moments. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
Here we are on hole G. It's about 340 feet. As you can see on the right side of the fairway, there's tall grass which plays as out of bounds the whole way up to about maybe 50 feet short of the basket. There's also OB deep in the bushes behind the basket, maybe about 30 or 40 feet. You're gonna see two kinds of shots here. You're gonna see a right-handed hyzer over the OB the whole way. That's the aggressive play. And you're also gonna see forehands and righty anhyzers, probably a lefty hyzer or two on the left side of the fairway, and something that's going to hopefully skip in to give yourself a putt.
For me, it's time with my friends.
For me, it's a walk in the park.
For me, it's my job. Go in. Oh.
For me, it's all about the exercise.
For me, it fits into my busy lifestyle.
For me, it's my passion. For us, it doesn't cost much to play.
For me, it's fun.
Welcome back, everyone. We have moved over to what I believe is our third card, at least the card that started on hole 3. I'm now joined by Paul Ulibarri. And Paul, your group's making a conscious decision to stand down for a few minutes because they're under some shade right now, and we can see that the second and third cards are somewhat bottlenecked in front of them. So we're bringing you some additional action here. We've got Nate Sexton with his patented putter flip. And dead center pull, but short. What have you seen out here? Have you been keeping an eye on any of the scores on either side, men or women?
Yeah, no, I've been watching the scores a little bit. You got Ricky and Paul pretty close right now. They've been within a stroke for probably the last 8 or 9 holes. So, and then Sexton, and actually the surprising name that was on there was Lance Brown is doing really well at 7 under, and I believe he might have made the final 9 last year, so he's trying to make a repeat of that final 9, but you know, it's early, and I feel like people are kind of playing a little not so aggressive today.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little, we'll say, a little slower pace, I guess is the one way I'd put it. And as we're waiting here, I believe this is Weston Isaacs, your 2012 putting world champion. And Weston is in, and I'm going to read off a few scores from the women's side. We see through 15 holes, both Katrina Allen and Val Jenkins have completed 15 holes, along with Michelle Frazier and Melody Wabel. We've got Allen at par, Val Jenkins at +3, Michelle at +7, and Wabel at +8. And right there in the mix at +6 is Sarah Hokum. So even +6 by Val Jenkins and even by Allen, +3 by Val Jenkins, +6 by Hokum. So that's how the top few women shake out at the moment. And we should be able to track over to the tee area as best as possible on, I've gotten confused as to what number we're on, E, F, G, H, somewhere around there. And we're watching
Looks like Jared Rohn.
Jared Rohn. Now, have you had any conversation with Jared? I briefly mentioned that he withdrew last week from Ledgestone. Was it an elbow?
Yeah, I think he's having maybe some tendonitis issues or something to do with his elbow. With he's been throwing a lot of sidearms this year. He's been really relying on that, and I think it finally caught up to him, and he made the smart decision to lay down last weekend.
And that carried near the parking lot. However, it's going to be inbounds. I saw Ricky Wysocki walking up the previous fairway, giving himself a little aggressive pep talk, and now we see him at the bottom of the box. So I'm guessing he may have found OB on the previous hole, as he's going to be teeing last here in just a moment.
Yeah, that was surprising. I actually watched his tee shot, and it came out very early. So he definitely took a bogey there. Let's see if he can bounce back. Looks pretty good. Looks turned over, though.
And he's going to be short and looking at a long putt, but that's kind of a misnomer. I don't know if there's anything that's really a long putt for Ricky Wysocki. It's just how much metal is he going to draw is the question.
Yeah, and is it going to stay or not?
Or is it going to knock the basket over, possibly, with how powerful it comes in? All right, I believe we're going to have Paul Macbeth and crew ready to go here on hole letter G. This means that they should have pretty good flow for both this and the next hole. And Macbeth going with a hyzer, trying to go out and around everything. And he gets the green flag.
Get all the way there. This side.
Yeah, Nichols also gets a green flag.
Do you want this back, or are you good?
I know. I saw. I was like, just keep going. Skip, come on. Get some skip. Unbelievable. Get in the air. Come on, sit in. Sit.
And Warfield also getting a green flag, and just prior to his tee, we hear a loud clang as well as a gallery clap. And sure enough, what Paul Ulibarri and I were just discussing is Ricky Wysocki converted on the long putt. And as Yuli was saying exactly what I was thinking, got a little Tim Tebow action there from Nate Perkins, certainly frustrated with his low attempt at birdie. Max Nichols, yeah, is very close to this OB line, looks to be within 3 feet of it. And he converts, and just before we heard Chris Warfield's drive, we heard a loud clang of chains and a gallery applause. Ricky converted on the previous hole, Paul.
Yeah, no surprise there. Looked like one of those Ricky moments.
And Warfield seems to have gotten back on track here. Chris had struggled during the first hole or two where we had caught up with him and then rattled off a number of birdies in a row.
Looked like some maybe early nerves was getting Chris, but he settled down pretty nicely here.
And Perkins is in. We should be clear on the next hole. However, we have a brief walk. We'll be back with you in a few moments. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
This is hole H. It's about 395 feet. You got OB on the left, that's pretty tight, and also the parking lot on the right, which is also OB. I feel like this hole plays a little further than 395. I think it's a little uphill and usually have a headwind. Gonna get a few twos. You'll see a few twos on this hole, mostly threes and some fours if you throw OB.
And welcome back as we've moved over here to letter H. Everyone's scurrying for any bit of shade that they can find. Warfield looking to confirm scores. We got Macbeth taking a 2, as did Chris. And Macbeth with his Metal Flake T-Bird 3 with a McPro AVR stamp on top finds himself within 10 feet. Great shot here by Nichols.
Come on, dude. Flip.
And Warfield has carried OB, and it looks as if that came back. It is on the grass. Tough to determine if that is in fact inbounds, if it's another marker, but he is on grass. And Perkins with a great forehand. Could have used more distance. However, he finds himself center fairway as we move down on hole number letter H. And Macbeth was just checking the caddy guide a few moments ago. A few locals have said that sometimes the guardrails are the OB markers, and sometimes it sounds as if the pavement has been. So we'll see if we can get an official clarification. I believe he's going to find himself in bounds. However, we're going to double check with the caddy guide.
OH mean to the telephone pole, miss me. Walking path and beyond. So I am safe. Yep.
And for the first time this round, I feel a gentle breeze. It is no more than 5 miles an hour. However, it is a very welcome reprieve here out in this otherwise very stale and muggy air.
It's alright, still looking pretty.
And again, Warfield has found himself inbounds. Said he is not wearing a Team Discraft shirt, but he wanted to make sure that we let everyone know he's sponsored by Discraft. I assured him that I've already made note of that. In this instance, you could say I almost assured him that I made note of that. You're welcome, everyone. And from way downtown, the non-Discraft shirt wearing Chris Warfield has just made a huge birdie putt. And Max Nichols has changed up his style just a bit. He used to be very diligent and methodical, is I guess one way I would put that. However, he stepped up very quickly and put that one in. And Macbeth taps in with this very easy birdie, and Perkins will take the lone par. We've got a little bit of a walk over to the next hole. We'll be back with you in a few moments after a word from our sponsors. You're watching Live Disc Golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
Here we are on hole I. This is the last of the letter holes. Hole I plays in at 325 feet. You got an OB road on the left, OB and beyond. I'm going to be playing a skip shot off of the road. A lot of right-handed players will also be throwing a forehand off the road or a roller. This is one of those holes that's probably a bonus birdie.
And we are here on a backup on letter I. I see Ricky Wysocki and the rest of his group. However, in the parallel fairway, we see the women, one of the women's cards that is, and that looks like that may be in bounds. Melody Bailey has just thrown her tee shot. Prior to that, it was our reigning world champion in Valerie Jenkins. And here comes a roller that's coming right toward us. And we're going to see if that's going to find its way back in bounds. Making us do some dancing here. I was going to save that for tonight, however, trying to get out of the way. That's going to be out of bounds. And this is Lacey coming out and over, and she's also OB. There's no chance for that to find itself back in bounds. Looks like she just didn't have enough turn on that right out of her hands. She was throwing into a slight headwind and possibly just a little too much stability there. And Lacey had gone OB almost immediately off the tee. We'll see if she is going to move forward. Probably 30 to 40 feet off of the tee is where she was last in bounds. So she'll be able to move up to that position and then throw her next shot. Of course, anytime you find yourself going OB, you most commonly go to the place where it was last in bounds and take a 1 meter relief from there. However, sometimes a event-specific rule may tell you you must go to another area, including a drop zone or somewhere else. In this case, she looks like she has thrown from where she was last in bounds, and frequently when you go out of bounds, you're also allotted the option by default to throw from wherever you were last in bounds. And of course, that very situation came into play at the Ledgestone Insurance Open last weekend. Paul Macbeth wanted to simply re-tee on the 6th hole. However, it was mandated that you must move to the drop zone. However, it created quite a stir. I know I'm going to conjure up a few harsh words and feelings just by mentioning the whole situation. It was very highly debated last weekend. And it looks like Ricky Wysocki throwing his forehand here off the tee. And Jared Roan throwing his tee shot.
Yeah.
Again, Paul letting us know, Paul Uliberry, that is, letting us know that Jared suffering a little bit with his elbow from last weekend. Seems as if he's back on track here. Possibly with some tendinitis. I believe I also see last year's Brent Hambrick Memorial Open champion in Shauna Buzzingham. I believe she is in fact in the group of women that we saw tee a few moments ago. If I recall, she had won this event last year, her first PDGA tier. And I believe I also see Ricky Wysocki's dad and brother. I'm not sure how long they've been here, but I see them now joining the gallery. Possibly a few other relatives as well. Ricky's talked a lot about playing here in Ohio this week and the support that he gets from relatives both far and near. And Valerie Jenkins off on my left-hand side. I'm seeing her with a patent pending, meaning she's got her back to the hole. Throwing from a standstill outreach position. And Val's going to have to put everything she's got on this to try and attack the green from there. And one of the shorter shrubs has hung her up. Looks like Innova's Melody Bailey will be next to throw. And although playing the skip, it looks like she's on the left side. She's going to have a little bit of tree action between her and the basket. It is nearing 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're so glad you guys could join us for live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV. In a moment, I'll be catching up with the women's division and checking in with their scores as we're watching a number of them play along. I see Katrina Allen off in a distance. As of right now on the live scoring, we see Katrina Allen is through 16 holes. She's still at even par. Valerie Jenkins through 17 holes is at +4. Sarah Hokum through 19 holes is at +6. And Michelle Frazier through 16 holes is at +8. Melody Wabel at +10 and Madison Walker at +13. Madison with the luxury today of the 3-time Women's World Champion Paige Pierce on the bag. Paige taking the weekend off. Paul Macbeth lining up a forehand shot here with a swirly Star Destroyer, one of his most stable ones. Macbeth inside 25 feet. And Max Nichols is going to need that to clip off the tree, carry hard right. It continues to push, and he finds himself back in bounds. He would rather be clean from the bush on the left side, the trees, but he still is in bounds.
Sit down. Sit. Sit. Nice. You're in bounds.
And Warfield is in bounds. It looks as if he hopped up onto the road, did a little dance, and then came back in bounds. And Perkins staying clear of the wire and of the post. Great forehand shot there by Nate Perkins. Macbeth and the rest instructing us to stay on the right side of the road as we are watching the women on the left side, trying to provide as little distraction for them as possible as I almost wipe out myself. And while we wait for Warfield to address his lie, I'd like to address another moment here in defining the game. They are playing what we call a shotgun start here today, and I know most of you are not familiar with that in terms of our coverage because so many events this year have in fact been tee times. However, a shotgun start means that competitors are starting on all 27 holes here today, and they will play from whatever hole they started on all the way through the entire course to where they finish. That is a very traditional style of golf. However, in the last few years, we've seen our biggest tournaments move to the tee time starts. So if you're seeing blanks or emptiness in the scorecard, or why someone may not be marked for holes 1, 2, and 3, and only from 4 on, for instance, that's because that's the hole they started on was hole 4, and they'll carry through, and their last 3 holes of the round will be, in that case, holes 1, 2, and 3. In the case of Macbeth, they started on hole 1, so that's why you're seeing all the cards be filled in from there in the various slots, whereas Waiosaki has a gap on hole 1 because that will be his last hole of the round. And Max Nichols, again, has a slightly hurried approach here. Max used to take, I'd say, a full 20 seconds to prepare for most of his putts, but has stepped right up and can the last few. Max trying to get down to business here, making quick work of it. Perkins is in for birdie. And Macbeth is in for birdie. So we're going to see 3 birdies here, with Warfield being left out of the group. And he'll be tapping in. We're going to take a walk over to hole number 15, getting back on the regular course. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf of the Brent Hambrick Memorial Open right here on SmashBoxxTV.
This is hole 15, measures in at about 315 feet, but usually for most players it plays a little bit longer than that because there's no straight shot to the basket. Players are forced to throw up and over. For a lot of righties, you're going to see a stall shot, something that goes out straight, high, and fades off to the left. This is almost a bonus birdie, so if you see a 2, it's going to be good.
Hello, I'm Drew Gibson. We're here at the 2016 Memorial Championship. I forgot what I was going to talk
You pretty much nailed that. Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, don't.
Why?
Go.
I'm Drew Gibson. I'm excited for the 2016 season. We're at the first stop of the national tour, and I'm trying to read it, but because I have my glasses on, so you can't see I'm reading. I'm pretty good at this. All right, I'm gonna nail this one, and then
Go.
And welcome back, everyone. We are here on hole number 15. This is a very difficult shot, not only to execute for our competitors, but also for us to cover. It is a very narrow fairway right off the tee to a very small opening up and over the trees. Paul Macbeth on the tee. And Macbeth seems to have misfired here. What is very interesting to note, especially on this hole and the following hole, the 2-meter rule is in effect here this weekend. So anytime a competitor finds themselves above 6 feet 6 inches, they will be assessed a penalty throw from that position. And Nichols narrowly missing one of the tunnel-edged trees. And that may be stuck up in the tree, as I mentioned. 2-meter rule in effect. Perkins may be above that 2 meters. We did not see that one drop to the ground. And looks to be just outside the circle's edge or so for Warfield. Yesterday during warm-up, we were out here with Valerie Jenkins and Nate Doss, and Nate had thrown one of his favorite, most seasoned Z Predators. Many of you have seen it literally hundreds of times here on Smashbox, as it's been in his bag for many, many years. There was no less than 6 people at any point looking for it up in these trees for no less than an hour. myself included, told Nate he owes me a massage, as my neck is, along with everyone else, our necks were just screeching in pain. And when it was all said and done, one of Nate's favorite discs of all time not recovered last night. He was very distraught. Many of you know that Nate very rarely adds or removes any disc from his bag, and yesterday was not the situation. He was hoping to take one out.
No, I don't want you to get the disc, man. I'm just gonna throw. Thanks, dude.
And Macbeth's lazy forehand hits the right tree. He's going to leave himself with a very long putt from there. And the lefty backhander goes with a righty forehand.
Yeah.
And a great execution here with a long stall. Max Nichols reaching deep into that bag of tricks. Again, that was a righty forehand from the left-handed throwing Max Nichols. And Macbeth slightly downhill, long jump putt, hits mid-chain on the left side. And yet somehow that one goes in for Warfield. Yuli has the same look of shock that I do. I'm not sure that touched any chain. And Nate is in for the 4, albeit not ecstatic about it after taking the 2-meter penalty. Again, anything above 6 feet 6 inches in a tree or beyond is considered OB this entire weekend, and Nate fell victim to that on the previous hole. Max with an amazing up and down. He's going to be tapping in for his easy 3. And we're moving on. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf right here on SmashBoxxTV.
Hey, it's Sarah, and you're watching live disc golf on SmashBoxxTV.
This is hole 16, plays about 318 feet. It's a pretty straight shot, and then it goes behind the trees on the right side of the fairway. You're gonna see a lot of mid-range shots, maybe even a fairway driver. Just throw it straight and stay out of the woods and you'll have a putt.
And Chris Warfield going right up the center here with a forehand. Macbeth has indicated that they may wait for the group to our right to putt out.
You guys can go ahead.
And Max going straight up the middle with what I believe is a T-bird. Finds himself parked. And Macbeth going high and pushing from left to right.
Finally hit my line, but I didn't throw it hard enough. There it is. Hit a little bit.
And what looks to be a great shot there by Nate Perkins. You may have heard Macbeth say he feels like he hit his line, but he's not sure he threw it hard enough. Yuli asking how he felt about his effort on that drive. We'll be back tomorrow out here at the Brent Hambrick Memorial Course, taking in the action. We will again likely catch up during approximately the remaining 16 to 20 holes, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're going to see the flow of the course as well as where our cards are at as to when we're going to break back into the action. Count on it being roughly the same time frame here tomorrow, give or take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. They do have the same start time. Sunday's start has been pushed up a half hour. They're also going to be the shorter pin placements. Many of the A placements, I believe 8 pins will be changing for Sunday. From what I've been told, that is not typical of this tournament. However, for the 20th annual, they decided to change things up a little bit.
I think so. I don't see
I'd like to again thank Joe Height along with Justin Downey and Johnny V all on their various positions here today. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined by this great group out here for our opening round of the Brent Hambrick Memorial. And Macbeth, frustrated with himself, also gives a little bit of a fist jab to a nearby tree. Paul just off of his mark, a little bit high. Almost that exact same putt we saw flop in for Warfield on the previous hole. And as Yuli said, Warfield seems to have calmed down and is finding his stroke here. Solid birdie. And Nate makes quick work here of his putt and his birdie attempt. Expect to see the same from Max. And again, Paul Macbeth being left out as the sole non-birdie. You're going to see that too frequently as he's going to tap in with his destroyer. There's a little bit of a backup on the next hole. We'll be back with you in a few moments during the opening round here at the Brent Hambrick Memorial, presented by Discraft.
For me, it's time with my friends.
For me, it's a walk in the park.
For me, it's my job. Go in. Oh.
For me, it's all about the exercise.
For me, it fits into my busy lifestyle.
For me, it's my passion.
For us, it doesn't cost much to play.
For me, it's fun.
This is hole 17 out here at the Brent Hambrick Disc Golf Course. It's one of my favorite holes on the course just because we get to play down this awesome tunnel. It's about 350 feet. You're gonna see a lot of players throw some fairway drivers, get a little hyzer flip, and try to attack the trees deep because the basket is in the woods. You might also see a spike hyzer or two, who knows? A birdie is good on this hole.
And we are moving down course hole number 17, which is the 26th hole that we'll find for the card that we've been following. This is Waisaki's 25th hole. He'll be playing regular hole 18 as well as regular hole 1 to finish out his round. And Waisaki is in for the birdie. And that attempt is low by Roan. Roan has tapped in, and the card will be moving off the group again. They're going to move over to what is course hole number 18, as we are here on the green of 17, our 26th hole. And we'll do our best here to give you our vantage point. This is a very challenging hole for us to cover, as our competitors will be moving off of the tee. We'll see if we can give you multiple looks. Chris Warfield here on the tee. And Chris going up and around, and it is coming in behind where I am standing, and it is caught up by a tree, and he will be short. Max Nichols with a few less options here with the lefty backhand shot. And he's opting to go straight up the middle. And he should be able to get up and down easily from there. There is an OB road on the competitor's right-hand side, which should be your viewing left side. And an early release there by Perkins gets caught up. I believe Macbeth will. Looks to be going straight up the middle here. Some competitors go wide out and around all the trees as we saw with Warfield. Macbeth seems to be coming right up the middle. At least that's what it looks like he's lining up. And he's doing just that. And he has gone perfectly straight, just a few inches from where we were standing. However, it did not hyzer or have enough time to flare at all. So he's going to be past the pin, possibly even deep of the pin on this right-hand side. But there is a world, maybe an entire underworld of brush and shrubbery between him and the basket. Let's take a look at the scores on the women's side. Katrina Allen now has moved to +1. She had been holding steady at par for the longest time. Sarah Holcomb is at +5. Valerie Jenkins at +6. Michelle Frazier at +9. Melody Wable at +11. And Madison Walker at +13. Most of them are through 20 or 21 holes. You can go out to pdgalive.com and keep up with all of the scoring here for the weekend. I believe we have a field of 14 women. And we see that after clipping trees, Nate Perkins has landed within a few feet of us. If that had remained clean, he would have carried closer to the basket. However, catches a tree. And at best now he's going to be looking at a 4. Unless he's got some magic I'm unaware of, I don't see an angle in which he could possibly put in his 55-foot putt for 3. Max Nichols will be throwing next, and as I look at the men's leaderboard, we see through 25 holes, Wysocki and Macbeth both at 10 under par through 25 holes. Greg Barsby listed at -8 and Lance Brown -7. However, they are both just 20 through 21 holes. Nichols under the pin for 3. And Macbeth's going to assess his lie again. He's gone past the basket. And Yulee, we saw Macbeth, to coin a phrase of Steve Dodge, straight as a string, I think was the term. That was on a frozen rope. He needed a little flair.
Yeah, it looked like he juiced it a little bit. He nailed the line. He just, looked like he put a little bit on it to make sure he hit the line. Just flared a little bit.
And Warfield is next to the pin. He'll be taking an easy 3 here. Yulee fulfilling his caddy duties, heading over toward Macbeth. Again, there's an entire acre of wooded brush and area between Paul Macbeth. He's looking for the smallest of gaps. Looks like he's going to go to 2 knees, patent pending, back to the basket. Yuli suggesting maybe there's a forehand shot or even a... Yuli may have just talked him into a forehand roller here. Macbeth with less than 60 feet to the pin. Forehand roller. Checks up nicely and almost carries right next to the pin. You just can't teach that, folks. That's Paul Macbeth all day. And he had a little magic in the bag. He needed a very stiff Anheuser putt. It looks like he almost had the line. Nate Perkins trying to make me eat my words there. That was a very difficult angle. Just not enough turn. But still great effort at grabbing metal there. Warfield is in for 3. Perkins will be taking a bogey 4. Macbeth has recovered and will be taking a 3. And Max, the lefty with the disadvantage on this hole, he's going to tap in for a very easy 3 as well. I think if you said you could play this hole 10 times, would you take 10 threes? I think Max would say, write me down. There you have it. We're through 26 holes here today. We'll be back with you in a few moments after a word from our sponsors and our preview on hole 27.
This is hole 18 at the Brent Hambrick course. This is the final hole. Plays as a par 4. It's about 582 feet uphill. You got OB on the right with the road there, and then on the left there's some tall grass, which is safe. So if you throw over there, you still get up and down, but preferably you want to be in the fairway, obviously. Up by the green, there's kind of a dangerous green. Behind the basket, there's some OB and a slope. Look out for Paul Macbeth. I heard he twos this hole a lot.
And welcome back as we're here on our 27th hole of the round. We'd like to thank all of you guys for tuning in today for our opening round coverage. We'll be back with more tomorrow. Look for a similar setup where we'll likely catch up with them on the remaining 2/3 of the course. We may alter that slightly depending on flow and scoring. We'd like to thank all of our volunteers and staff here at the event, as well as the PDGA and our presenting sponsor, Discraft Discs. And Warfield attempting to use all of that fairway with a huge turnover shot. And Nichols is filtering toward the road, however, he's on the upslope and will have no problems being in bounds. Macbeth with a Star Destroyer. And that had a late turn to it, however, it should stop, and it does not. I thought that was going to come in and stop before the road, however, took a bounce up and onto the road. And a very safe and conservative shot by Perkins. Finds himself inbounds. Macbeth with a very unforced air here, knowing that he's not going to get to the pin in a single shot. I've got to admit, I'm a little surprised he put that much on it. That just lifted and carried right for him the entire way. And just when I thought it was going to hit the upslope of the right side fairway, it kind of bounced up and onto the OB road. So Macbeth likely finishing here with a 4. He's going to relinquish a stroke. And as we saw, Ricky Wysocki, as of a hole or two ago, was knotted up with him. We'll also see there may be other hotter scores out on the course. However, the live scoring is not complete just yet. We'll look at that tonight and bring you the leader card action tomorrow, right here at the Brent Hambrick Memorial, presented by Discraft. And excuse me as I watch Max Nichols throw a very easy lefty backhand approach up toward the pin. Upon completion of the round, we'll see if we can maybe get Paul Macbeth's caddy, Paul Ulibarri, to check in with us briefly. The rest of the card will add up their scorecard and we'll let them go off on their way, but that may give us a great opportunity to check in with Paul Ulibarri just to see what he saw from the caddy perspective as he's on the bag for Paul Macbeth this round. And Warfield with a forehand approach shot that puts himself within 15 feet of the pin. And Macbeth asking for a spot or a lie here from the rest of his group. PDGA's Michael Downs on the spot, grabbing the disc. And there is, of course, a chance for a throw in here by Macbeth. I know we're going to see a, looks like a P2. With a 4, not the finish he was looking for here. I'd like you to make sure you subscribe, like, swipe right, do whatever you need to do to make sure you're following along with SmashBoxxTV. This brought to you in part today by the PDGA. Solid putt by Warfield. And Perkins wanted to jump back out after just seeing a short one by Nichols.
Thanks for coming out to watch, everybody.
Perkins says thanks for watching. And Paul Macbeth. Again, we're going to see if I can check in with Paul Ulibarri as the rest of the card adds up their scores. And we'll see if we can grab Paul quick. He's going to relieve himself of the caddy duties and hand off the bag. Again, due to the shotgun start, we're not going to see any other competitors moving up onto this hole. And while they go off and add up their scorecards, everybody wants to get out of the heat. I'm going to be joined here by our special guest, probably one of the highest rated caddies, maybe at a national tour event. How did it go out there today?
It went good. You know, he was playing really aggressive pretty much the whole time, and I think he shot a 9 down, which I guarantee will probably put him on the top card right in the mix. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I don't need to give him any advice. I might have saved him a stroke on the last hole, though.
We were talking about that. I said there was a full acre of trees and woods between him and the basket, and he had it all lined up, a double knee, patent pending shot, and then you say, what did you say to him?
Yeah, I said, I think you could get the same look just going around, and you won't have to risk the 3-putt, and he's like, yeah, and he did it, so he ended up getting the easy 3, so maybe if I saved him 1 stroke, it's pretty hard to save a 1050 rated player a stroke. So.
And tomorrow we've got to ask, what's your plan? Will you be back out here with maybe the lead card of Open Men, or will you be following around anywhere else? Is it just going to depend on how the scores shake out?
No, I'm on the bag the whole weekend.
Wow.
So, yeah, I got my job cut out for me.
You got to earn that caddy commission.
Absolutely.
All right, well, this is Paul Ulibarri. It's been an amazing day here today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to be back about the same time tomorrow. They're going to be playing, again, 27 holes. We'll catch in with the last 2/3 of that. I've got to thank Joe Height. I've got to thank Justin. I've got to thank Johnny V back on the controls, Paul for stepping in, and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. So for Discraft, as well as the PDGA, thanks for joining us during this opening round. We'll see you guys tomorrow when you step inside the Smash Box.